Okay, you're on.
Good evening. It is the 24th of November 2020. This is a meeting of the Northland Road Budget Committee meeting. For those people who care to, you can listen via telephone. The United States toll-free number is 1-877-309-2073. The access code is 611-426-261. Please note that you will be able to interact during public input using the online service. However, you will only be able to listen to the meeting via telephone. If you have any issues attending this meeting electronically using the aforementioned instructions, please call 603-569-5903. That being taken care of, I will call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum, either present or online, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business is any public input. None forthcoming. I'm moving on to the approval of the November 10th minutes. Anybody have any additions, deletions, corrections? I have one. And that is under the fire department. The final vote is showing that the motion carried 7-0. Actually, Penny Hug abstained from that one. So it would be 6-0-1.
Did you give a reason for abstaining?
Well, I believe that her husband is a member of the fire department. And I told
I got it.
I told her after the meeting, I said there's no need to do that, perhaps in the future, because she did not have a fiduciary interest in it. So, but
I understand.
The vote stands the way it stands. So 6-0-1. Okay. Anybody have anything else? All right, very well done, forthcoming. Then those in favor of the minutes as presented with the one change, say aye. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I was going to do this on the chairman's comments. Let me back up for just a moment. Under the rules of engagement now, and in the wonderful world of COVID, our method of doing business has changed because we're doing things on the telephone. We cannot just do a voice vote on motions now. We're going to have to do a roll call vote for any and all motions that we bring up for said vote. So on this particular issue, for the minutes, I will start with Barry.
I say aye.
Chip?
Aye.
Helen?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Yes, and the chair votes aye.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that takes care of the minutes. The chairman's comments, that was going to be my comments this evening, the fact that we can't do things the way we have been doing in the past. The chief was not here yet, so whereas and now that he's going to be, why don't we move on then to what we had for our last item, which would have been the health agencies. The chief was going to discuss that with us anyway.
Yeah, the only a couple of major changes.
You lost it already?
I did. Hold on. At any rate, the Wolfboro Senior Center did not submit a request this year, so that $1,500 went away. The other parties stayed the same. Blue Balloon is included in the Tri-County action, and that did drop to $53.75, their request.
In the past, we've gotten copies of the letters from the people showing their requesting how much they had contributed to the town of Tuftonboro. Will that be forthcoming this year?
It can be. This is I remember it now that you've reminded me. We can ask for that information.
And then also the Lakes Region Humane Society. In the past, I recall that the first time that we gave a donation, you put it on the warrant instead of putting it in the operating budget.
And that would be a new application, was what we did in the case that you remember. This is an organization that we already support as our animal control operation, and they're looking for additional support for their facility. So let's put $500 all that.
Is that, for lack of a better phrase, double dipping?
Not actually, because the services are paid, and I could look them up, but the services are paid on the occasion when they're given. So they don't necessarily get paid anything if they haven't provided any service.
Okay, right.
So this is to keep the facility in operation. So double dipping issue. So artfully.
Chip.
Oh, thanks, Joe. Sorry, I think I have no idea what to do with that. Thanks. So the long and the short of the story is that in 2020, the budget for the health agencies was $44,774, and the request for 2021 is $40,185. So a reduction of $4,600.
Is there going to be no Blue Moon bus service this year?
Blue Moon is included in the Tri-County action number. So if you go down to Tri-County action, 61 or 5375, that includes the Blue Moon service and the homeless intervention services and the utility assistance programs.
So that's a savings of about $3 grand, isn't it? Because they added two.
Yeah, it actually saves you a little more than that, but yes.
Was I the only one to be surprised in what's going on in the world right now that this number was lower? I fully expected this to be,
There's an awful lot of other money that's getting put into
Yeah, I understand that, but still.
assistance. And I've always thought that Blue Moon was double dipping, to use your term of art, because they not only hit the towns, they hit the county. So they're hitting all our taxable entities.
Yeah.
And I'm not certain, back to Helen's request, how much service was actually provided to Tuftonboro residents by Blue Moon. So putting it into the Tri-County action seems more sensible from our perspective anyway.
Yeah.
I see on some of these trips, like Life Ministries, I get flyers in the mail
Yeah.
seeking donations. Seeking donations here.
Yeah.
That's kind of a double dipping thing too. I mean,
Well,
you know,
yeah, the consistency of local governments donating is there for them, but it doesn't accomplish all that they want to do. So it's like VNA. We give to BNA, but BNA is always looking for some kind of charitable donation.
I'd just be curious of how much a lot of these organizations have federal funding and state funding this year because of.
I don't know how many get federal funding, but I know that, or state funding for that matter. Most of these are locally funded operations. Like, for instance, the White Horse Addiction Center. I know they do get some state funding for their addiction services, but they also provide a service directly to the community as opposed to just, charity.
And you did indicate that the letters requesting these funds indicated their service, their individual service to the town in terms of people.
I can't speak to what the others are going to say, but I know what the request is. So we'll ask for that information.
When you have the documentation before.
We have the request.
Okay.
It's generally just a one-paragraph request to ask for the money that they got last year or whatever it was.
Yep.
But as far as calculating how much service was given to Tuftonboro residents, I don't have that.
Yeah, well, you can't get it from the Red Cross.
I'll certainly get it as best I can.
Well, I think from the Red Cross, that was why 1 year we didn't give them anything because they
can't report.
Because they can't report. So, but I would be interested in knowing
Yeah, it's no
how
different
much
than
the service they provided.
if we do Parks and Rec. You'll notice the Wolfboro donation. We've asked for some kind of calculation as to how many Wolfboro kids participate.
I think that in the past, at the time that they were asked to tell what kind of service they provided to the town.
Right. I missed the first one.
Chip, in these letters that we may see, or from previous ones that you've received, do any of these agencies indicate what their overhead is? In other words, how much money actually winds up being directly contributed to needy individuals or organizations as opposed to paying for lights or marketing, that type of thing?
Yeah, we don't. I've never seen a financial statement from any of them, but I don't know we've ever requested a financial statement either.
Quite frankly, I don't think any one of these organizations that we're looking at this evening have a whole lot of top-end overhead.
Well, American Red Cross, I think, does.
Yeah, well, that's American Red Cross, but you're not going to see that on Meals and Wheels and the Life Ministry and the Youth Center. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, there's a significant number of these are nonprofits with no benefit going to directors. So there's no corporate jets. That's why I'm not doing it.
Okay.
There's nothing in it for me.
So for those of us that are interested, you do have the documentation on file?
We do have documentation on file for the request.
Okay.
We don't have documentation on file that I know of which would verify how much service was given.
No, I understand that, but you do have the letters of request on file.
Right.
So if any of us wanted to see those,
Yeah, and I
short
can,
of printing, I mean, I don't need to see them again. I've seen them several years in a row.
yeah.
But if Helen wanted to see them, certainly I want them to be available for her.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all public information. It's not part of the hidden deep state. We'll get to that later.
It's fine.
I make a motion to approve health agencies 4415 in the amount of $40,185.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I think you gotta, if we're gonna do roll call, I think you have to state your name when you make the motion. You have to state your name when you do the second.
Okay, seconded by Hartshorn.
Presented by Robert Tebb.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded. Okay, Harry,
Gary, I approve.
Chip,
I approve.
Helen,
I approve.
Bob,
I approve.
Gary,
Yes, I approve.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Moving on to the police department.
While the chief's getting up and sitting, Gordon, just to your point of why aren't those numbers growing, I've noticed that our welfare number hasn't gone through the roof, and I was really surprised at that as well. But a lot of local churches and organizations are.
No, I understand that. I was just saying that, you know, when you watch the evening news, and the headline, of course, is how many new cases, how many people unfortunately lost. Every single night on the evening news, it's how people are, the food banks are being overwhelmed, the social services being overwhelmed. It was more an editorial thought. I'm surprised. I'm just surprised the numbers aren't larger. That's all.
We're really tough.
That's true. Chief, how are you?
Very good.
What would you like to tell us about your budget?
Obviously, we're up 2 point, by my calculations, and it's what I requested. I didn't adjust it to what the selectmen and I talked about adjusting. It was 2.8% up. Some of the significant places, obviously, employment costs went up. Some of the places that went up, it did increase for the training, because I expect, but we cut that back some. So it's back to, I think it's less than what we had. Let's go back to here, conferences and training. It's a little less than than this year. Part of the problem this year we had, obviously with COVID, a lot of the training wasn't done. We couldn't do it, just because they canceled, they shut down stuff. Traveling was shut down, so a lot of it didn't get done. We need to, and coming next year, there's more demands in use of force, de-escalation, cultural awareness, anti-bias, that sort of stuff that's coming. Some of the other changes, maintenance, repairs and maintenance, it's up. We're up a little higher. It depends, I guess, on what we decide to do with the truck. One of the, and I talked with Selectman Albee about this, is how much do we put into it where it's just not, theoretically it'll be replaced next year. So I put in some money for rust repair because it's starting to bubble around the rear, around one of the wheel wells and a few other spots. I've got some rust that's going to come through probably, I think it'll pass inspection next September, but it's going to start looking pretty rough.
What year is that?
2013 Ram. It's rusting around the right rear wheel well, and it's got a few other spots where some rust is starting to show. That's bubbling right through the paint. Some of it's more surface stuff. But,
How old is the truck now?
It's 2013.
Yeah, 6 years old.
Got it.
It's gonna be 7 next year.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's something that caused repairs and maintenance expenses have gone up. So we've, in fact, my budget, what you see is expended as of November, it's actually gone up since then. We're almost to what was budgeted for repairs and maintenance, so already. Not that we have a whole lot left before the end of the year that I know of, but there's a few things. So we'll probably be over on that line this year, and then part of the increase is for that rust, where it went from 10 to 18. Those are probably, the overtime got cut back. I put in for less. We put in extra in case it was needed because we had 4 elections, and so we've we cut it back somewhat. I felt we are well within that. That 15,800 will be, I believe, okay for that. Overtime, just double checking something here. Yeah, we're 11,764 before this week's pay. So we're gonna have probably another, I expect another 1,000 or so before the end of the year. So then with pay increases, I think 15.8 is gonna be fine for next year. Basically, it has not changed a whole lot. I didn't ask for any extra staffing hours or that's.
I noticed that the selectmen cut back the new equipment. What did they cut out?
They cut out, it's a transcribing, it's recorders and a transcription service system, if you will. It's actually going to be purchased this year is what we're going to do. We have had some cases where we've had to do recordings of interviews of people. If we do it at the Child Advocacy Center, or if we do it in this particular case was a victim of a sexual assault, like an hour and a half interview, it was going to cost us just for that one case over, I believe the quote was almost $1,500 to do that one interview if I sent it to a service. And I had concerns about sending out because it's a victim of sexual assault. It also involved juvenile child assault, child abuse. So there's privacy issues. I was very concerned about sending it outside the agency. So what I'm looking for is a service, a system that might help us be able to do it internally. There's more and more recordings and there's more and more that we're going to have to.
So you're going to do that before the end of the year?
Yep. Yeah, I got a quote earlier this year. That's how I got an idea of the price. And it's now, I just contacted him after the selectmen did this to get an updated price, and he said the price is staying the same. So I got to talk to him about the licensing of the software. It's Dragon, naturally speaking, is what it is. If everybody's familiar.
So we didn't eliminate it, we just pushed it into this year.
Good. Okay.
So that's what a few of these things, why they went down from what I requested to what, like the training went down because ammunition, we bought it this year.
On the radar, is that just a replacement unit?
Yes, our radars are about, 3 of them are, I want to say 15 to 17 years old. We want to update them to newer units. We have one that's newer, but we're going to, so that won't be replaced, but the other will be replaced with a newer style.
Pushing the cost of that machine into this year will not cause you to overrun this year, though, right?
No.
I mean, that's okay.
No, because they have the year-to-date expenditures for their new equipment is zero at this point.
But I still have stuff to order from this year. I've held off, so I just updated the prices on that too.
Hey,
Okay.
on your new equipment, there's a $21,000 budget for this year and no expenditures. And
That was for computer systems in the cars. And like I just said, I've got new prices on that. I'm going to go forward with those.
okay, so that's going to happen this year.
That's going to happen, but it won't be 21,000. It'll be less than that.
Excuse me.
Under uniforms,
Yes.
you have $1,500 complete uniform, $1,500 complete uniform and body armor for a part-timer. Are you anticipating?
I didn't take that up this year.
No, it's right there.
Go to that line. Basically, I left it the same amount. Let's see where we're at.
It's page 6.
6 of 15. So it's
Six.
$3,500.
I took those out. So that's separate. So if you look up above, it's replacement uniforms and some stuff we need for the full-time officers.
I understand that.
Yep.
So you're saying that $1,500 is not to be expended for a part-time officer?
No, we've no, that's why it's a 0 next to that. Part-time
Okay.
officers is blank.
All right.
Body armor replacement blank, because that's
Okay.
something else. That was actually a carryover. Basically took this year's and zeroed up that and zeroed up the part-time. So below that, the part-time was if we'd done one last year. So that was in my budget request last year. So that's the 3,500 for what we need for us.
And what got taken out of your office supplies request?
A software license from a mobile data terminal software license. We're going to add a license next year. Again, that's something I can take care of this year.
Under repairs and maintenance, Andy,
Yep.
you've got cleaning. Is that cleaning of what?
Clean?
Yeah, it says clean. The inspections, resets the tires, clean.
Yeah, so we usually every year we try and get them like done up by some detailed, if you will, cleaned up, right up, waxed before the winter, all that sort of stuff.
The other comment I got on those repairs and maintenance is it's all pretty much automotive, except you've got firearms for 200 in there. It's kind of an odd spot for the firearms, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I have in the past when I've done maintenance on the, it's kind of you bring up a good point, but like this year, for example, I have to look at this one, repairs. Occasionally, if I have to do a repair on something, sometimes I'll put the parts for it there. For example, a radio or something like that, I might put repairs and maintenance catch-all for everything. It's been in there, besides just automotive, right? Most of the expense is automotive, but for example, a speaker, we broke a clip on a microphone. That was $1630 this year, so it was a radio part. Overhead door, on the garage doors, it's $195. So there's a few things that do get in there besides automotive, but the vast majority is automotive. Obviously, that's a huge part of it. But every once in a while, also a few catch-all parts we put in there, and that's here. You know, I put 200 firearms. It may or may not be even. It probably wouldn't be close to that much, if you will, because it's cleaning supplies, that sort of stuff. But it is, you know, probably 99% of it's automotive anyways.
Yeah, that just sticks up.
Like I said, the garage door was one thing, $195
Yeah.
I put in there this year.
You do a great job every year in every car.
Close to it, seems like either a front or rear, yeah. You know, this year we've had, I know it was about, well, it seems like we've gone, some of the expenses have been huge for, we had, like the Charger, we had 1,100 one time. That was some, I think that was some ball joints too. And 1,100 another time on the Charger. So we had, ball joints, and we had a bearing and brakes on that.
It's too bad they still don't make checker cabs that make them into police cars.
I know it.
These bad boys ran forever.
Like tanks.
I thought I was the only one that had that much stuff going on with my vehicles.
All you gotta do is buy a Dodge.
I never have all mine at home, there's always at least one in the shop. I can't remember the last time I had them all at home.
It's called a depreciating asset.
Yeah.
The day you buy it.
So,
Andy, can I ask a question? I think I looked somewhere at some of the selectmen minutes, and there was some discussion about body cameras. Is that something that is going to happen, or maybe won't happen, or how do you? I mean, what's your crystal ball tell you about that sort of thing right now?
Boy, my crystal ball worked good. I'd be buying megabucks tickets.
Yeah.
So, obviously, there was a LEACT, Law Enforcement Accountability Community Outreach Training commission on those things, LEACT. They made 48 recommendations, which were adopted by the governor in some way, shape, or form. A lot of them are going to require, they only apply to state agencies. The governor can't make towns do that. But they're going,
Okay.
but a lot of them are going to require legislative changes in some way, shape, or form. And one of those had to do with body cameras. And with body cameras, there is a bill filed by Representative Cushing for body cameras and a grant for them. My concern about that is the grant may buy the cameras, but every year there's going to be an expense with them. And that's why I spelled it out in the minutes. You know, it's if we were to get and that's not even time to run the system or maintain the system. We're talking just cost and licensing and storage of data. For one system, if we did body and cars, it'd be about $10,000 a year, and then the other was $7,200 a year for maintenance every year for the data storage and access to it, licensing to access the software.
We have cameras in cars now?
We do, and they're not, everything's done local with them. And the advantage of that is there's no ongoing cost. The disadvantage is it can be a real time thief. It takes a while to burn DVDs from that. These systems that I looked at store everything in the cloud, which is a better way in a lot of ways. It took me a long time to adapt to that because to me I wanted to control the information, control the access, know where it's stored. I wanted to be the one controlling the access and own it. Because some companies, there is a company that does dig into the cameras, not the one that I quoted you looked at here, that they hook you with cheap cameras, but then they charge you an arm and a leg to store the evidence in the cloud. And then when you're done, if you don't pay it, they'll send you you can send them a hard drive, they'll put it on for you, and thank you very much, it's back to you. It's really, you won't have access to it like you should. So this system that I looked at, and on the cloud, the advantage of storing it there is if I need to get it to an attorney, I can send them a link to the video, and they can download it. I don't have to sit there and shuffle DVDs in. We take a DWI arrest, it takes over an hour. I'm burning like 2 DVDs, and then if we take them, say they go to the hospital, it takes like an hour, and then we take them to the jail. There's a third DVD process. I had one case for Stratford County because we arrested this person several times. I burned like 6 DVDs sitting there waiting for them to run, and that was on the fastest burning speed. If I had done it on a different, it would take me a long time. So I've decided that the most efficient use of my time and department time is to have it on the cloud, and you can send a link to them. They get a window of like 5 days, 10 days, a week. That they're good to log in for a week to download that if they want. If they don't, that's their problem.
Okay.
So it's a time saver there.
So the cameras we have in the cars, they're fixed to each car. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, if we had to get body cameras, would one be sufficient, or do we need to have more than one?
You'd have to have one for every officer.
That's on duty, or one for every officer in the department.
Probably you'd have to have one for every officer in the department. It'd be the only real way it would work efficiently. So there's different ways of doing it. Like, for example, The company that we have for cruiser video, they have a body camera that works with the cruiser video, if you will. So, because the cruiser video has to have a separate wireless microphone. So what they offer is a wireless microphone that's also a body camera, if you will. Advantage is you don't have to carry two parts with you. But it has to be, you have to have one for every unit. You can't, so we'd have to have four. And again, the price of the real price is not the cameras. I mean, one company will almost give you the cameras. It's the price is the data storage. I mean, we're talking, it's not hard to get over a terabyte of data. And then you have the other price that's not shown and is hidden is the time dealing with it, because unlike car videos, there's a different law that covers body videos, and it's much more cumbersome. It's lengthy. It's got restrictions that you have to make sure you abide by. And so you have to make sure you redact stuff on a body camera that you would not have to do on a cruiser video. For example, like if somebody gives up confidential information, or like a victim gives information, or if they say they don't want to be recorded, you got to redact that on the body camera. On a cruiser video, on a car videos, if they're in a public place, theoretically, they have no opportunity to, you inform them they're being recorded, they can't tell you shut it off.
Okay.
So it's a cumbersome law, it's a lengthy law, and it has more data retention requirements. Some you have to hold forever, some you have to hold a short time.
Yeah.
Well, not hold forever.
Well, my immediate concern is that this sounds like it's going to be optional for the towns for, what, the next 2 years out?
It would be optional probably for a year at least, because I think even if they pass it this year, it won't take effect till next year anyways.
Right.
Okay.
But my concern is that these people talking about this, and we'll just grant it, are only looking at the immediate cost of buying the cameras. They're not looking at...
Yeah.
And so what happens 2 years from now when I need $7,000 to pay for this?
Well, and hopefully they'll craft the law to accommodate for the different size communities.
Yeah.
Because if we look at your crime, crime statistics, in 26 felonious level crimes, and 200 traffic stops on an annualized basis doesn't justify spending $17,000 or whatever it is to...
Yeah.
Well, that's, to them, I don't think that matters to the people pushing this.
Well, I'm sure it doesn't matter.
It's not the number of calls, all it takes is one to in their minds of firearm involved or complaint against an officer, and then they're going to want the videos to be around. So
well, I only raise it because I feel that your budget should be as smooth as possible for the next 2 or 3 years until we get past the police facility, and those were big numbers that I was reading in the selectmen minutes. And from what you're telling me, also there's a lot of other implicit costs that would go to be part of such a system. So that's why I was just raising it. But my immediate concern is that we don't have to face this for the next, say, 2 years.
We won't have to face it this year, but who knows? I think once they start hearing more about the real costs, I think some people are going to maybe have to take a step back and say, it's wishful thinking, if you will.
Would that cost you for each camera?
No, $55,000 with the car and body was everything, equipping them. And the other cost, and then $10,000 a year roughly, and then it's $28,000 if we just got the body cameras. That includes the way that particular system is, and that's the first year of that $7,000 or $10,000 maintenance too. So that's wrapped up the first year. It's afterwards you have to pay the ongoing fee. The nice thing about this particular system has a lot of automatic triggers. For example, if you drew your gun from a holster, it would start the recorder. If you fell down and didn't move for a little bit, it would start the recorder. There is options on on this system in certain settings. If there's gunshots, it would start the recorder, even without you making any action. If you start running, if it senses that you're running, like you're in a foot pursuit, it starts recording. Because that is a big concern of a lot of these advocacy groups, is that officers won't record it when they're in something, just so they can hide stuff as a thought. Of course, studies don't bear that out, but it is tough to make sure some of the systems are harder to trigger than others to start. This particular system is very simple to start. It has automatic triggers, plus you have a Bluetooth record button on your wrist to start it too. Anytime you can discreetly start it without them knowing. So it's got a, well, you have to tell them it's being recorded, but you can do it rather easily.
Kind of sounds like a runaway train once they make you have that stuff. The cost, and then they're gonna make you have this, and then they're gonna make you have that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of that, unfortunately, that's coming.
There's a lot of money to be had by people out there buy that, you know?
And unfortunately, to editorialize a little bit, I was very frustrated with this Lee Act that they only listened to Manchester, Nashua, Portsmouth, and the state police. They did not talk to any smaller agencies at all. Nobody made a presentation to a small agency. So they're making, a lot of these recommendations were based upon stuff that these large agencies said they could do, or are doing, and were going to be expected to fit that. You know, for example, they talked about accreditation. That's going to be, that could cost us a couple thousand a year, plus the cost of an on-site, plus. That was my frustration. I expressed it more than once, that they were only listening to large agencies and did not listen to small towns, and they still don't realize the impact, but that'll hopefully flesh out as the legislative process goes forward. As it is, we do have an unfunded mandate, and I'm a huge reminder of that to everybody down there in Concord. And unfunded mandates are unconstitutional in New Hampshire, so if they want to mandate that we have cameras, pay it.
That'll be the first time we've ever done that.
But the way they sneak it in is they start the programs, then they say they don't fund it down the road for you to keep it going. So, so there's a lot of that though, policy-wise, as was mentioned, that they're trying to drive the train on too, which concerns me.
Well, we had for the first time, I think, in my memory, engaged the services of a grant writer,
Yeah.
professional grant writer, because there's opportunities that are out there that we haven't been taking advantage of, but as these sort of things accumulate, and primarily the police station is what we're working on now, but as these sort of issues accumulate, we need to be searching around. There must be some help out there somewhere.
The most dangerous thing in the world is to come to a public body and say, we're going to fund this with a grant, because it's going to get it going. And then what are you going to do with it? The only thing worse than that, when I was with all my years in the school board, when somebody would come and say, with a program, and say, well, how's this going to be run? Oh, we're going to be doing it with volunteers. End of conversation.
Yeah.
I see some towns in Maine, like Freiburg just got a new police chief. And the police chief came from Dixfield. And because of things like this being mandated to the police department, Dixfield voted to disband the police department and contracted with the sheriffs to save money, because they were saying that's a town of 2,500, and they, you know, they said we have to save money because this is out of our control now. I know Bethel did it 10 years ago, and you know, these things keep forcing this stuff on you, keep running stuff up and up and up and up.
Is
Which
there an
for a
association
small
of
town.
the smaller town police forces?
Not really. There is probably two associations. There's the New Hampshire Chiefs of Police, which represents probably about 90% of the departments in the state. And obviously, you know, I was president a few years back, so we had quite a run, and we still have a run of fairly smaller towns in the seats. A few years back, it was larger. It was frustrating to me. That's why I got involved, because it was, you know, large entities, Hampton and stuff like that. And of course, they didn't feel the pressures that we were when they went to talk to the legislature. But so there's that. There is an Hampton Police Association, but that's a little different. That kind of represents the officer on the street, and there's times that we're in common and sync, and sometimes we're not. The Hampshire Municipal Association also looks very hard at, you know, costs that are downshifted to the towns.
One side doesn't fit all on this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think that, you know, given some of the other budget issues going on, this will not fly. It was not put in, while it's well recommended and it's not a bad idea, I don't think it's going to fly this year because of other funding costs. When they get the price for the state police to do it, they're going to go, whoa. And then I think, you know, I just don't think it's going to fly this year. And also the primary sponsor is in the minority now, so he's not going to be, maybe have the political footing to make it fly as well as he could have in the past. I think, you know, to me, I looked at cameras a few years back. Like I said, you can get them fairly cheap. But then I looked at some of the other legality issues, and then they didn't have a law in place. Then they got a law in place, and it's involved. It's not as straightforward as the cruiser cameras. So we're going to stick with that. And any objective studies have not shown any advantage to body cameras. So.
I guess we could go on and on about that.
Yeah, Peter did more.
Objective being the operative word.
It's Helen, and I would like to recommend that we approve the budget for the police department, Department 4210, in the amount of $441,247.
Been moved.
Second that.
Been seconded by Bob. Further discussion on this? Very well then. Barry?
Aye.
Chip?
Aye.
Helen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Gary?
Yes.
And the chair votes aye.
Maybe I have one question for you.
Yeah.
When do you hand out the holiday pay? See, there's none.
It goes the first week in December.
Okay.
So that line will probably be eaten up right then.
Lump sum
Yep.
for you.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially it's done instead of doing it every week a little bit, it's one time a year.
Makes a difference when you get it all at once.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy.
Yep.
Moving on to the highway. Jim, how are you?
Jim.
Well,
More paper?
more paper for the I'm gonna put one on top of the speaker for just let me know when you want me to flip the pages.
Oh, very good, yeah. Like that. Please do give any extras to Jane, because we have two members who are not physically here.
Okay. Okay, so I guess I'll start off by saying, this is what I propose to the selectmen. I put the road prep in my budget because at the time that I did this, it hadn't been decided where it was gonna go, whether it was gonna be in my budget, or if it was gonna go under the paving warrant article. And I guess it has been chosen that it will be under the warrant article. So this is actually, you know, off by the 50,000 that will be in the warrant article, but on the first thing. But I did start by, you know, the next page. Just kind of giving an idea of what we do for road craft. You know, we change all the culverts that are metal, damaged, or undersized, and we build new head walls on both ends. We remove trees that are in the ditch lines, that are plow hazards or just in the way of drainage. Remove stumps, rocks in the ditch lines, making this plow hazard. We excavate ditch lines for proper drainage, add erosion stone in the areas that are high flow areas. We build catch basins if they are in disrepair. Mark rocks or bumps in the old pavement, saw cut around them. Then we excavate out the rocks or debris that's under the road. In the areas that are broken up, alligator cracking, we excavate those areas, remove the soft matter, and install gravel. And just trying to, you know, let everybody know, it's actually best to replace these culverts a year in advance to get proper settling, and then we have to pave them back in for plowing and just general use. Next, on the next page, I have summer maintenance, what it includes. I think this is pretty much stuff that you've all seen the last few years. It's the same page. So I think you're familiar with filling the potholes, and the beaver dams, cutting limbs, and opening up sight lines and stuff like that. And same with the winter maintenance. You know, it's plowing town roads, in the parking areas, mixing up the sand and salt, putting it away. You know, then I have tree removal. I wrote up a new slip this year for tree removal. Removing trees along the roadsides that may be dead or dangerous, or a plow hazard, or in the way of sight lines, or in the way of proper road drainage. We currently have over 200 trees that fall in this category. We found a local tree company that has offered a great price on a bucket truck with operator, as well as a truck and chipper with operator. And I think it makes sense, you know, to accept his generous offer, and we'll get as many trees down as possible, starting with all the dangerous ones first. Therefore, I'm asking for $25,000 this year to accomplish this. You know, Shane Levin's the tree company. He does nice work. And
here's a question for you. You cut down, you take an oak tree down off the side of the road, and you limb it, and you chip it. What do you do with all the hardwood that's left over?
So we leave it on the side of the road generally, unless somebody.
And then let the public grab it if they want to grab it?
Well,
Or does it go to
unless-
the landowner?
I think the landowner owns it.
Okay,
The
I was just
landowner
curious.
has- And we're a riparian state, so you own right to the middle of the road. And anything the town cuts down is yours.
I asked that, believe me, I asked that as an interrogatory, not an accusatory question. I was just curious to know, you know, who ended up with all the wood?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
we leave it for them, but if it sits there long enough, I think people just come and get it.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Mhm.
If somebody comes up to us, the landowner comes up to us and asks us to maybe put it somewhere, we will always work with them.
Okay.
Do you get any cooperative effort from the utilities in terms of these trees that are endangering power lines? And, I mean, have they ever stepped up to the plate?
They have, and it's very slow and painful to get that to happen.
Yeah.
But there was an area that they did do for us. It took quite a while. I'm guessing it was almost a year later that they showed up and took down the trees that were leaning over the power lines and over the road. but they did finally do them.
Generally, if there's like a tree that goes down, they'll just restore the lines. Don't worry about the wood.
Yeah, we usually clean up the mess after the fact. If the tree goes across the power line,
Well, I question that because of, we had a dangerous tree at one point in time and called the utility about it because it was going to go right through their power line. They could have cared less.
yeah.
They said, we'll take care of that when it falls.
Yep, and we've asked that
And that's,
question.
that's hardly, the right attitude as far as I'm concerned.
Correct, yeah, I would think it'd be cheaper for them to do it before
Right.
it breaks the power line. Yeah, but- Okay, another one I wrote up this year was for line striping the roads. The roads we stripe currently, we stripe the roads with yellow lines. It helps keep people on their side of the road. It helps at nighttime driving in the rain. It helps to follow the road. It helps with plowing. It keeps the truck in the right, we know where the center of the road is when we plow it. I can generally look in the rear view mirror and see that I'm scraping the yellow line. So, when it's snowing out, that helps a lot. It also helps, it helps with a calming, device as regulates speed a little bit. People do tend to go slow when we have yellow lines and white lines on the sides of the road. It does help there. The white lines are easier to see at nighttime, and especially in the rain, and it's easier to follow the road. In the past several years, we painted Sodom Road, Union Wharf Road, Ledge Hill, and Durgan. This coming year, we are planning on adding Tuftonboro Neck to that. Also this year, we added some stop lines at the ends of Sodom Road, Ledge Hill, Durgan, and Canaan, and Sergeant's Crossing. Next year, we're planning to add stop lines to all the roads that intersect the state roads. I think that's, I think it's probably one of the things that helps people know where to stop. And so,
I like the lines at the side of the road.
the fog, yeah, the white fog lines.
I don't.
Yeah. I do.
I think if there's a choice, the ones in the center do more overall, both for the drivers and there's nothing worse than traveling over to the landfill and having a car come right at me at my lane, and you don't know whether he's just asleep or flattening the curve or what's going on. I think those lines in the middle do help.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think that they are more important than the ones on the side, but I still like the ones on the side.
Mm.
The side ones, when there's a car coming at you on a rainy night, you can't see anything in the middle. But you can generally see that white line.
That's right, yeah.
Purposely got to stare at the white line just so you don't see the light.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then especially they call them fog lines, because on a foggy night, they're a savior. Or a foggy morning for that matter. The next page I have spring maintenance, which is pretty much the standard that we've had every year. Cleaning culverts, cleaning out beaver dams, cleaning up falling down the limbs, sweeping sand from the roads and parking lots, cleaning ditch lines, grading the dirt roads, york raking the dirt roads, picking up trash.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What is york raking?
So it's a special, like a plow that just has teeth.
Looks like a big cone,
A big cone, that's a good way to put it.
big curved cone you drag behind.
For dirt roads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just for dirt roads.
So does it like just smooth them out, or?
It helps smooth them out, and sometimes it also helps take the debris off the roads before you grade. Try to get it off the sides. Yeah.
Thank you.
We pick up trash on the roadsides, clean up from the storms, and any projects that are requested by the selectmen of the townspeople. Fall maintenance, cleaning culverts,
Never ends.
Yeah, the Coney culverts never ends.
Never ends.
Pick up trash, and ditch lines, crack sealing the roads and bridges, repair road edges, grading dirt roads, short breaking roads, clean up down trees and repairs from storms as needed.
Do you ask you guys to pick up trash?
We do. We,
That's always kind of a bone to me. I see the road get done, the trash still along the side, and I'm thinking, you know, you're right here. It'd be easier to pick it up and store it in the truck.
yeah, you know, it's funny, we try to, it's easy to say, I guess, to get, you know, but to get the guys to do it.
But I think it makes no sense, 'cause I mean, they're right there, you know?
Yep. And then we have the road paving schedule for next year. We're going to finish the top third of Dame Road, which includes reclaiming 2,000 feet plus the intersection. We're going to, you know, it turns it into gravel. We grade it, roll it several times. Pave a 3-inch base coat, compacted down to 2 1/4 inches. Pave and then after that, we're going to pave the entire length of Dame Road, 9,960 feet with a 1-inch top coat to complete Dame Road project. We're looking at $175,962.50 for that project. Figure you're going to get it.
It's for you.
You know that that's my bedtime.
Then the second project we're going to tackle is Northland Road. We're going to reclaim the second half of Northland Road, which is 2,900 feet, turning it into gravel road base. Grade it, roll it several times, pave it with a 3-inch base coat, compacted to 2 1/4 inches. No top coat this year. We're going to wait on that particular one. And that's going to be $81,750. And then we're hoping to do Federal Corners Road, starting from the intersection of Northline Road and heading north towards Burley Road, to the end of, beginning of Burley Road, the end of the dirt road, start of the dirt road. So reclaim that and put it down to 3-inch base coat. And that one, we're looking at $65,044 for that. Then we have to gravel the edges, and I'll be honest with you, I could not find that quote tonight. I was looking for it for quite a while, and I don't know where that quote got away to. I think we have it somewhere, but.
Which road?
To gravel the road edge sides after they pave.
Oh, right, gravel road. Right. Jim, what's up with the gravel on Federal Corner Road from Brown Road up on top of the pavement? There's a section there. It's covered with gravel. Before you get to Burley Road, that last section right there.
Oh, so this winter, we had some severe dips in that road, and we had to fill it just so that cars don't bottom out. We had a couple sections that did it there, and we also did it on Dame Road, near Gillen's old house. I don't know if you ever saw that. But
I just wondered, so why is this all gravel on top?
well, we think we found the culprit. We think that at some point in time, it had clay up against the edges of the road, and it didn't allow the water to bleed out, and it just held it in the road base, and then it just, heaved real bad this past winter with the rain that we had and the freeze-thaw cycle. It was just horrible. So it did a lot of damage to the roads, unfortunately.
Now, you've overspent both spring and fall for this year, which is understandable. I'm not criticizing. So we've got, your budget every year is the ultimate crapshoot, because we never know what we're going to deal with until it starts to snow. And you're comfortable to get to the end of the year where we're still in the budget?
I feel like we're in better shape this year than we have been in the past.
Yeah, because have we had a plow snow yet?
Nope.
No, so it gets to Thanksgiving around here without one plow of snow.
We've done
We
well.
gotta keep knocking on it. Too many of these selling snow shovels with the ski business about, but.
Yeah, we did have to treat the roads, not all of them, it was just mostly the higher elevations.
Mm-hmm.
And so, everything north of 409.
Okay.
And he's got about $110,000 left.
Hmm. Okay.
Thank you for keeping my road clear. You fellows do a good job on it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I thank you, but you don't do anything on my roads.
Yeah, you're right, I don't.
I do more on my road than you do.
It's true.
This is Helen speaking, and I'm going to recommend that we approve the highway and street budget account 4312 in the amount of $624,325.
Move, do we have a second?
Ted seconds that.
That's moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion for Jim? All right, none forthcoming. Barry?
Aye.
Chip?
Aye.
Helen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Gary?
Yes.
And the chair votes aye. And that takes care of our line items for this evening.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for the nice documentation.
Thank you for putting us in touch with the guys who do the side of the road.
Oh, hopefully you did a good job for you.
Oh, I could have sat there just once. I mean, I would do that job for free. That makes so much fun.
I'm guessing it would be for the first hour.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a nice-
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. I have nothing on the correspondence, so service update.
Well, we did some more budgeting this Monday, but you didn't get them. Go through what we have completed, and you will get copies once we get it through the office. But the evaluation of property is done. Personnel administration will get pretty soon. We were waiting for one last number on the health insurance, which we did get. So there's a net savings on the health insurance. I think we've done things on government buildings we haven't addressed, but that's going to be at our next selectmen's meeting. And other government, I think you've already done.
So you're going to have enough for us for a meeting next
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ambulance was done this past Monday, and emergency management was done this past Monday. Streets and highways are done. Other highways and streets we'll do at our next meeting, as well as, these are just little ones that we're just going to blast through: animal control, direct assistance, and we have done Parks and Rec. I thought they were coming tonight, but I guess not. But we did get Parks and Rec done.
Well, it wasn't done when we set the agenda.
Yeah, I think what we didn't want to do is give you a budget that you don't have any time to look at before the meeting.
Okay.
So,
Conservation.
Conservation's done. And we'll get to other conservation at our next meeting, but that's milfoil forest service and agricultural commission, so it's a $8,000 and $9,000 budget.
There.
Only one or two big ones left, and hopefully we'll have that all to you for next Tuesday.
Well, next Tuesday, CIP is coming to present their report.
So
So,
how do you want to play that?
well, we will do CIP first,
Okay.
and then pick one or two of the ones that will take a fair amount of discussion. And then if you want to fill things out with, for a few more that really don't take a lot of in-depth discussion,
Right.
we can do it that way.
We could always add a Tuesday in there if we need to.
Yeah.
We're meeting on the 1st and on the 16th,
Right.
Yeah.
so,
So we have a meeting scheduled for the 16th.
yes.
So I think we have all the budgets done by then.
Okay.
I think the budget committee will have them all done by then. Because we'll provide them to you as soon as we get them. I'm reluctant to have you do a budget hearing or meeting with only a few hours to review it. But that's
What's all that?
up to you if you want.
Yeah.
I mean, the little ones don't matter, but something like personnel or
Oh, no, we want time, definitely come out.
bigger ones will need to take a little time. That's okay. Oh, on the,
Chip, Chip, I'm sorry, I do have more, I wanted to ask you something, but I can wait until, if you're not done with the things on your list.
okay, just as a clarification on the highway budget that you've approved, you approved the selectmen's number. You did break out that $50,000.
Right.
It may not be 50,000, it may be 75,000, but our plan is to have money in a separate account that gets plugged into the 2022 roads that he's going to pay, as opposed to muddling it all up in this year's budget. We're going to try that, and I think it would be a lot clearer as far as what we're doing, because we've spent a lot of time on Dane Road, Northland Road, now Federal Corner Road. There's some work that's going to be done, I think, on Ledge Hill Road, all within a 2-mile radius. Is all our highway work in the last 2 or 3 years, and we need to move out into the rest of the town.
It's called the hinterlands.
Yeah. Well, they don't vote for me, so I don't really care. But at some point in time, I'm going to have to fix the road so I can kind of get my nose in it. All right, Gary, go ahead.
All right, look, I might be jumping ahead. Maybe Helen should do her thing. Because what I need to do is I want to ask some questions concerning what looks like it's coming down the road from the CIP. And the problem is that, for me, is that it's not a CIP thing. It's probably more of a selectment thing. And it has to do with the size of the capital reserve that's going to be proposed for this year. Do you want Helen to speak first, or should I raise my question now? Maybe she can incorporate it into her answer. Into her review. How do you want to do it?
Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. So I'm looking at the spreadsheet that we're probably going to see next week, and there's $200,000 for capital reserve, and there's a huge jump in the CIP request for 2021 and 2022. I'm just wondering why we don't try to bite a bigger piece of the apple in 2020 and have that capital reserve a larger number. It would tend to reduce the amount for the following year, and it would make the profile a little bit smoother for the next 3 years.
The capital.
So that's my...
The capital reserve for what area?
For the police building.
For the police, yeah. It looks like they're going to come in with about $200,000 request. We're already front-end loaded the point where we got 662,000.
Right.
I'm wondering if maybe we could tolerate another 50,000 there and reduce the following year by the same amount of money, and it just might smooth it out.
Well,
So anyway, then,
okay.
it's a comment. I mean, it's not my job to policy here, but it just seems like it's a huge jump in the following year. Maybe we want to try to lead into it a little more smoothly.
Well, I appreciate your comment, and I think you're right, because we're going to be handing it off as it is to the selectmen, and then it would be up to them if they wanted to make that change. Part of our thinking that went into it was trying to be mindful of the bottom line so that we stayed somewhat close to the capital capacity. So the report came back. I got an email just as I was sitting here that it's back, and it will be included in our packets for next week. So Jill will, for the CIP.
Oh, the CIP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did those numbers change from the last report I saw?
What was the last
It
report you
was
saw?
a spreadsheet. I think we're,
Oh, if you saw a spreadsheet earlier this week,
no, it was a couple of weeks ago.
it's
We're,
probably about the same, because I don't think we ever really changed the capital reserve that we're asking for we're recommending for 2020 budget is $200,000.
right.
And then
Well,
the rest of it we put into 2022.
But that's just a recommendation. I think we need to look at,
Yeah.
we as selectmen need to look at a couple of the items that are on that list that need to get shifted and aren't going to impact.
Well, here's what I'm looking at, Jeff. It's basically, it looks like it could be about a $600,000 jump from 20 to 22, 21 to 22.
What sheets are you looking at that we haven't seen?
I'm looking at the spreadsheet.
He managed
We'll probably
to
not
get
see next week.
an
I've got an advanced
sheet
copy of it.
That's wonderful, Gary. You have that and we don't.
Yeah.
So I think this is
Well,
it's a moot
I think
point.
this is a discussion for next week, Gary.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, I don't recall a $600,000 change. Do that as a
I think that you have to give us all a chance to look at the report, and then we can discuss it next week.
Well, fair enough. I'm not trying to have anything changed at this point. I'm just trying to point out to you that it looks like we've got a big jump.
Now, Gary, I'm going to rule on this one because you're sitting there looking at information that we have no idea what you're talking about at this juncture. So I don't really think I want to entertain any more on this conversation until next Tuesday. We've all had a chance to see what you're looking at.
And that would be.
That's fine.
This is a
I don't have
committee.
any problem with that. I'm just trying to
We heard your
We
point.
heard you, but this is a committee.
Yeah, that's all.
But this may drive how many budgets you want to go through next week, because it sounds like this conversation is going to be a little longer than just a report from the CIP.
Well, if we had to go, God forbid, we had to go to 9 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
I think we could probably, we're big boys and girls, we could probably do that. So let's get this done
Okay,
at a timely manner.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll work all night.
All right.
Let me just finish this by saying that the only thing I'm looking at here is what I asked for last week, and I was told to go get it, and I got it. That's all there is here. I'm not trying to blindside anyone on this. I'm perfectly happy to wait, and actually I don't think I have that much more to say, other than just to bring that one point to your attention. That's all.
Very good. Do you have anything else on the CIP?
No, that, just that we will be here at 6:30, ready to give our report next week.
We'll be here waiting with breathless anticipation for you.
And you will have it, it'll be Friday in your packages, so that everybody, everybody can have a chance to look at it.
Very good.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, our next meeting date then is, of course, next Tuesday evening, December 1st. Any public input?
Tell me about the 16th. Somebody mentioned the 16th of December. What's going on?
That's our meeting.
That's the general public meeting?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, just,
We had some conflicts on the 15th, which was Tuesday, so we're gonna be doing it on Wednesday night, instead of Tuesday.
I mean, it's a meeting just like this one. It's not the public input meeting. That one happens in January.
Oh, that's what I was asking.
I'm sorry, in February.
So we're having one the next week, and then we're gonna have one on the 16th, which is on a Wednesday.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that in mind, then, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Helen moved.
Helen has moved.
Bob Chubb seconds.
Bob has seconded. Barry? Aye. Chip?
aye.
Helen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Gary? Chair votes aye. Thank you. Have a lovely Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Be safe.